So Chad, European equities lagged in 2018. What was the key driver of the underperformance?
So there's really two pieces to the underperformance in European stocks in 2018. So one, we had economic indicators beginning to cool off somewhat, still in growth territory. But the idea was probably that 2017 was peak European growth for this cycle. And of course, markets began to price that in. Secondary, we had political risk. As usual when it comes to Europe, you had the Italian election, a populist coalition elected there, a budget standoff coming out of that election as well, and then the Brexit, ongoing negotiations between Britain and the European Union on how exactly Britain will exit the European Union. And there's still a lot of questions to be answered there, and that's been an overhang on the markets in Europe as well.
Come back to Brexit in a second. But what's the outlook for 2019 for European equities?
So some of these, what could be a positive, a lot of these issues potentially will continue. One potential catalyst is that the European currency, the euro, has weakened a fair bit over the course of 2018. That could be a potential positive for exporters, for manufacturers in the Eurozone as well. But the political issue is probably going to be the key to whether European stocks can outperform or not into 2019. Brexit being the key issue there, and of course, it could end up in a multiple of ways, but it will be decided one way or another in 2019.
So let's go a little further on that. Do you think it'll be a soft or hard Brexit?
So our base case will be a soft Brexit, and really we're not going to know anything until the 11th hour. As these political negotiations often go, it's going to take that crunch time right down to the last minute to get a deal done. A soft Brexit means both sides, Britain and Europe, make some concessions to get a deal done. We can't completely discount the extreme cases, so we will be paying close attention to whether you get a hard Brexit where no deal is done and Britain essentially falls out of the European Union, as well as the potential positive outcome, if you're pro Europe when it comes to Britain, is that maybe something triggers a new election in Britain. Maybe this becomes an election issue. Maybe there's a redo of essentially that Brexit vote in the first place.
All right. Let's move over to Japan. Japanese stocks didn't get hit as hard as European. So what happened there?
So Japan had a couple of things working relatively better for it this year. I mean, one is as an international investor, if you're owning Japanese stocks, the fact that the yen held up relatively well compared to other currencies, that was a positive for you. So the yen often takes on defensive characteristics as markets are selling off, as there's risk aversion. So that was a positive, as well as Japan has been going through some structural reforms, and those have continued through the course of this year. So on the corporate side, there's many shareholder-friendly policies aiming at improving return on equity, improving profitability for those companies. And then on the economic side, Abenomics, of course, ways of structurally improving the Japanese economy have continued throughout this year as well.
So let's tie all that together. What's the outlook for 2019?
So as you get into 2019, you're getting a sense that we've got some positives for the Japanese economy. Much of what I talked about in terms of structural reforms, we do expect to have legs into 2019. When we look at Europe, though, the risks are to the downside. So we put that all together. Overall, we've got a neutral view on international developed markets, but we're favoring Japanese stocks with an overweight position, underweight Europe within that international allocation.
Chad, thanks for your insights.
Thank you.